What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Submission Fishing Live podcast. How's everybody doing today? It's a beautiful Thursday. Hopefully, you're all doing well. Got a decent show for you guys tonight. We're going to be talking, well, at least I think it's decent. I guess you guys will be the judge of that. We're going to be doing a just a little refresher on patties. You know, how to fish patties, what patties are, what to look for. You know, all the good stuff. We got some news for you guys, fishing news. We got some local, some international stuff, and yeah, we got Instagram questions, and yeah, it should be good. So if you guys got any questions you want to ask live, let me know, and just have a good show. Nice hour of talk. We're coming fresh off the submission at sea. So if you guys were here on that trip, super exciting, man. Fun trip, awesome trip. Great fishing with a lot of you guys. Super fun. Number 2 down. So hopefully we'll have to get another one in next year. Let's see if we got in the house today. Spinning Rod Rebel, Marvin. Oos, welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. Leonard, what's going on? Glad you could join us. Salty Dangler, Oos. Danny Perez, what's going on? Glad you could join us. Lorenzo, welcome back to the show. Sammy, what's going on, man? Oos. Captain Dan, on the road to New York for this week's, how do you say that? Unadilla Motocross. Graham, welcome to the show. Michael Soloranzo, Oos, welcome. Glad you could join us. What's going on, guys? If you're on Instagram, I don't know if I'll keep the Instagram feed up all the time, but you guys can watch it there. I might, usually I'm on live on YouTube. That's where I'll be checking most of the questions and stuff like that. So if you guys aren't subscribed, you can check us out on YouTube Submission Fishing. So I'm just kind of running both streams here. I'll try to check in on you guys. Something Fishy, what's going on, man? Dinks Fishing, Oos, what's going on? Cameron Gamble, what's going on, man? Yeah, next week we'll be there Wednesday. We've got a BD sponsored trip, so that should be cool. Looking forward to it. TV Metal Art, Todd, what's going on, man? Jesse, welcome back. Oscar 636. Jeremy, what's going on, man? Glad you could join us. Let's see here. Yeah, we jump into some news stories here. Actually, this one's pretty cool. Some of you guys might recognize this guy. So they had. So this is pretty funny. I was just looking up news stories, and let me see here. This was one that I pulled up, but there's a little twist to it. So it was let's see, there was a first time angler lands a rare moonfish and a pending world record. And first time angler on an overnight trip out of San Diego landed potential world record OPA. It's like Bo Lehman out of Santa Clara, California, caught a 188-pound OPA or moonfish after a 45-minute battle while fishing aboard the Horizon. That's what I want to show you guys. Look at this picture. We know these guys. Captain Bill, he's been on the show many times. And this was actually our captain for the submission at sea. So Ricky here, he actually is the captain. He co-captains the Horizon, and he took us out on the Malahini. So Bill usually drives the Malahini, but he took us out. Ricky ended up taking us out on the Malahini, but he does co-captain with Bill over on the Horizon. So he bought the Horizon this year. He runs the Malahini and the Horizon. And it's funny. I was just looking up the news stories, and I came across that. I didn't know it was on their boat, until I saw the pictures, and I was like, I had to do a double take. I'm like, I know this guy, Bill, and then I saw our captain on there too. So yeah, that was super cool. And I guess they're rare catches. They don't typically swim in schools. Yeah, world record stands at 180 pounds, 12 ounces for a 2014 catch at a South San Diego. Wilkerson said the International Fish and Game has been contacted about Lehman's catch and that a world record application has been submitted. So that's pretty cool. If as long as everything gets approved, it looks like it's about 8 pounds over the world record. And just thought that was super cool. On a boat we all know, at least the boat I know, boat a lot of you guys have been on. So yeah, I just thought that was a super cool story. Travis, what's going on, man? Glad you could join us. Cameron, what's going on, man? BD Outdoors in the house. The BD trip, I think, is full. Yeah, it filled up today. Yeah, you never know. Somebody might drop out. It does happen. If you guys go to BD, what's going on, guys? Everybody on Instagram. If you guys want to hit us up on YouTube, that's where I'm checking all the chat and stuff like that. But yeah, go to BD, the forums and stuff like that. You could check out the trip. And I think if something comes up, I know Cameron did an update because somebody what am I trying to say? Somebody canceled, so they had a spot open. But yeah, check it out. My wife, no, not this time. She ever since she got the baby, I don't think she's been fishing yet. I am taking one of my guys out though. I bought him a ticket, one of my buddies, so that should be cool. Fernando C, what's going on, man? Yeah, it has been a while. Hope everything's good. Saw her name. Oh, you know what? Because she bought a ticket for one of my coworkers, one of my buddies. So he runs one of my companies for me. So we're gonna take him out. And he loves fishing. He's a fisherman. He works for like the AA baits and stuff like that, and the Optima baits. So he's been fishing forever. He's done a good job for us. So yeah, we're gonna take him out fishing. It's probably why you saw her name on the list. Let's see. Check out some more news here. We've got. Oh yeah, this was kind of crazy. This one was a Florida man. Why is it always Florida man? Uh, this guy lived almost 2 days stranded out at sea. Um, yeah, I guess his boat was sinking. Florida man's thankful to be alive after he was found clinging to a sinking boat after being stranded for almost 2 days. Charles Gregory was spotted hugging his knee in a partially submerged boat on the U.S. coast. Coast Guard found him on Saturday. He was rescued 12 miles off the coast of St. Augustine, Florida, which is pretty funny because like all these stories, it's like I can relate to because I own a property in St. Augustine, Florida. Um, and I was just this is another one that came up, but it was crazy because I know exactly where the lighthouse uh, boat part ramp is. That's actually right by my house over there on the Anastasia Island. Yeah, but he was last seen Thursday. I guess he lost all his equipment, including yeah. So this is one thing I wanted to talk about, guys. Is he lost all of his equipment, including his phone, which he would have been able to use the Coast Guard. And this is one thing we talk about regularly on the show, especially if you're kayak fishermen or um, even on your boat. You know what I mean? You guys gotta really make sure that you've got all your safety stuff covered. And one thing you should always do is have stuff tethered to you, whether you're on your kayak or your boat. Have your phone. I always keep mine tethered. Like I lost my one phone right on that video where I was doing the spotty tournament, but you should always have it tethered to you. And also, I carry a GPS device on me all the time. It's not on my backpack, or if I'm on a sport boat, sometimes I'll keep it on my backpack. But when I'm out fishing on a kayak or I'm on my boat, it's always attached to my hip. It's like the Garmin InReach Mini. It's waterproof and it's GPS satellite, so you can get a signal no matter where you are. There's other companies that make it. You don't have to get that one, but it's got the SOS, it's got your coordinates, it's got a GPS on it, and you can text from it too. So if I need to get a hold of my wife or anybody, I can actually text from my phone, but I can also text from the device and it'll send it out. It's not instantaneous because it hits the satellites coming over, but like every few minutes it'll send the ping and the text. But yeah, it was just crazy. Apparently, this guy was like, he was out on a John boat offshore in Florida. Like, come on, guy. You guys got to know better than that. Yeah, definitely parents are relieved he was out there. Where did it say? He was on like a 13-foot boat or something. Like, I don't know, man. Crazy. I mean, not exactly the boat you want to be going in offshore anyways, but yeah, just make sure you guys, get all your safety stuff definitely buttoned up for sure. It's not something that's optional, man. The sea comes and it'll take you out quick. Know your limits, know your boat. Fish. That's right, dude. 100%. It's just, yeah, you don't think about it. That's the problem is you don't think anything's ever going to go wrong, and then it does. We all know somebody that's flipped over or gone overboard. I mean, I give the news on here all the time, and there's always somebody that's, a boat sank. Nobody intends for a boat to sink. Nobody intends to go down, but um, it definitely happens all the time. Iron Fish, welcome. Dansky, welcome to the show. I don't know if I got you guys. Not give you the double shout out. Andrew Blake, welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. Jack Sparrow, yeah, man. I don't know what that dude was thinking. Cody King, welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. Yeah, but it's like those little devices are cool. They're not cheap, and there's like a little bit of a subscription, but it's pretty cool because you can even text somebody like when you're offshore when you don't have reception. So if your wife or whoever needs to get a hold of you, still can. But more importantly, it's got the SOS. It's like a little EPIRB. It'll give your location wherever you're at, and then hopefully Coast Guard or somebody can come get you. I mean, that guy got lucky, man. He's probably noticed he wasn't home and then sent somebody after him. But he made it. Glad he made it home. I mean, that's all that matters. So those are the only two news stories I had. We have the submission at sea recap. So this will kind of go into our main topic, which was patties, talking about kelp patties and stuff like that. So we had the submission at sea. For the guys that don't know, a lot of you guys went on this trip. We do a trip every year. Uh, I put it on for you guys. We do like raffles, give out jigs, and it's just, you know, a time for all of us to go out and hang out together and fish and stuff like that. And this year we had it. Last year was a little later. We went to the islands. This year though, we went patty hopping and stuff like that. And it was fun, man. It was a great time fishing with you guys. We got quite a few dodos. I think one yellowtail, one yellowfin, but yeah, it was good. Good stuff. Mary Haas, Oos, welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. Tyler Doan, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Oh, dude, I did hear about that. You know what? I don't know why they didn't come up in the news stories. Yeah, there was a what he's talking about, the Alamitos Bay. There was a fuel dock explosion last weekend. So sad. Yeah, I did hear about that, and I'm wondering why. Like, I look for news stories, every week, and I saw that on Instagram, but I didn't see it come up anywhere. But I remember, I'm glad you mentioned that because I saw that and I was like, oh, I got to put that in my fishing news. But yeah, man, it is sad. I think I don't really know the details. I don't know. I think some people did lose their lives in that one. I have to double check, but yeah, crazy. It just happens fast, man. Benny Fresh, ooh, so welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. I was leaving the harbor when that happened. Oh man, thing went up in flames immediately. Crazy. Yeah, Sammy. Sammy killed it, man. I think you caught like every fish there, right? You got the yellowfin, decent sized yellowfin. I think we had one yellowtail. Well, yeah, one good yellowtail, but bunch of Dorados for sure. Super cool. Yeah, so let's well, I'll roll this it's the submission at sea recap kind of in with what we're doing with the talking about the patty. So yeah, we'll just kind of get into that. What's going on, guys? Everybody on Instagram, if you want to hit us up on YouTube, that's where I'm checking the checking all the chat and stuff like that. Just saying what's up to all you guys. Yeah, so kelp patties. It was that time of year where the fishing has basically pretty much moved to kelp patties. Early in the season, it's been the bluefin came around. They were kind of the first one. Bluefin are still here. It's not like they've left or anything. So bluefin are still a thing. Um, some of the bigger ones are out deeper. A lot of the fleet are going out to Tanner Bank and Cortez. But even some schoolies are starting to stick around too with some of these boats, and they're catching them during the day, foamers and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. But in addition, that's been happening. So in addition to that, we're starting to get patty fishing is coming into play. So what that is typically Dorado, yellowfin, and then yellowtail exist on the patties as well. Now, admittedly, I haven't seen too many yellowfin this year. Usually in years past, they'll come in together, the yellowfin or the Dorado. Um, but even last year, the yellowfin like weren't too crazy, but mostly it's been primarily Dorado and yellowtail, and I think we've been seeing more yellowtail on patty than I've seen in years past. It seems like last year the yellowtail weren't really around, but the Dorado were definitely smashing around. But that's definitely the case this year too. They've moved up. They were in Mexico, and now they've moved up. So I went out Tuesday with Kevin. We went out on my boat, and we went just out of Oceanside. I live in Carlsbad. We went out of Oceanside, and I mean, we saw hundreds of Dorado. We found them on patties. We saw like 40-pound yellowtail and stuff like that. It was just the amount of fish we saw was just absolutely crazy. And the water up here was like I think 74 degrees. You can see somebody caught one just like a half mile off the coast of Oceanside. It was 74 degrees. As we pushed out further, it got a little colder, but the patties were definitely still popping off. And when I first started fishing for pelagics, like Dorados and stuff years ago, I never like really understood kind of the significance of patties. You would hear the terminology, but didn't really know like what the significance of was them or what they were and stuff. But once you understand them and you realize, I mean, patties are pretty much everything when it comes to fishing out here. So what is a kelp patty? Kelp patties are basically they're just kelp. If you guys want to go check out some of my older shows, I did a whole thing about kelp and I did a whole thing about patties as well. But basically, it's just that the kelp breaks off. I took my sister out with this too, and she was asking, where does the kelp come from? Basically, it just grows coastal. It grows on the kelp line. You guys see it all out in La Jolla. You got the barn kelp up in Oceanside. You have the Point Loma kelp all along there, and it doesn't grow very deep because it needs sunlight to grow. It's only attached by like a small root. So sea urchins bite it off. Either it gets ripped off in the weather, it gets cut. No matter what it is, it gets torn off. It only grows in about 70 feet of water or so, because if it gets too much deeper, it just doesn't get the sunlight. But anyways, that kelp that we fish um, during the winter and stuff like that, we fish the kelp. And we fish the kelp in La Jolla is probably like the most famous out here. La Jolla kelp and the barn kelp up north here in like San Onofre, and then even the Point Loma kelp. So that's really popular fishing for sheephead. Even the yellowtail come in the kelp there. They go in the kelp forest. Lots of calico bass and stuff. But as that breaks off, it drifts out to sea, and then the currents and stuff they all accumulate. Like when you see trash and everything and together in one spot, for whatever reason, it forms patties. That broken off kelp just forms up, and once it forms together, they form patties. So the broken kelp floats. They got like those little gas bulbs on them that actually carry them to the surface. You guys know what I'm talking about. They look like like giant jalapenos almost, part of the kelp. And then they float off, and they just float out in the middle of the ocean. They float from here. They drift all the way to Mexico, although Mexico has its own kelp, that breaks off too. But most of the ones we're seeing in Oceanside, they've broken away, um, and then they just drift. But the crazy thing is that the patties basically create their own ecosystem. The plankton and stuff like that. It feeds the bait fish, and that's why they're so significant. Because once the bait fish start feeding, that's what brings in the predators, and that's what makes them so viable in order to fish on. It's not just like, oh, there's a patty over here and there's fish. It's like there's a reason that the fish are there. It's because they're eating off of the bait, and then the bait's feeding as well. So it's like they're basically their own little ecosystems. Um, and the patties range from like literally, I've seen them like 2 feet, little crappy patties, like holding tons of fish, and sometimes they're massive. I mean, I've seen them 100 feet across, just like little islands almost floating by. Super crazy. But when we talk about patties, that's kind of what we're talking about. Just broken off kelp, um, bands together, and just creates these ecosystems for the Dorado and stuff like that. And you can find pretty much anything on them. The yellowfin too. Yellowtails have been on them all over this year. Super crazy. Let's check up on the chat here. Chet won, I believe. Oh, the rods, yeah. Chet won. No, somebody else won the rod. I don't think it was Sammy. Yeah, those tie pan rods are cool. Cave Dogs. Mission to see was a blast. Thanks, Mina, for all the sponsors putting out. Yeah, dude, that was super cool. It's huge for us right now. First time bone owners, been out finding like 10 patties each in the last 3 trips, all empty. How are you approaching them? How close? Yeah, we'll get to that right now. So so the kelp patties, they're basically their own ecosystem, and that's, so we'll get into that a little bit. Life of the lawn is let me bring up my notes here. A lot of times you'll hear terminology, like when it comes to patties, you'll say, oh, this patty's dry. What we're looking for is a patty that's holding. So when we went to submission at sea, this was the same thing. So you got to search for patties a lot. Not every single patty holds. It's a strange thing. You would think like, oh, you find a patty and there's going to be fish on it. And that's not the case. And sometimes you're going to hit dry patty after dry patty after dry patty. So when we went out to Oceanside too, it was me and Kevin went out Tuesday. On the way out, I think we hit maybe 4 patties. We took a look on them, and there was nothing on them. Same thing with submission at sea. We went out for hours, and I think we hit a couple patties, right, guys? And it was like nothing. Maybe I think we pulled one Dorado off one, and then the yellowfin, but really there wasn't too much there. Later in the day, I think Captain, he put us on one. I think he got a tip or something, and we went up north of like ran an hour and found this patty, and it was like, it was nuts. Like the Dorado a lot of times you see the Dorado were jumping out of the water before you even reach the patty. And the patties are hard to see sometimes, but the fish jumping out, it was like we saw the fish jumping out. We rolled up on it. We're like, oh, there's the patty. It was a pretty decent sized patty. And then it just blew up like crazy. But as far as the patties go, when you when you approach them, right now you can usually see the activity on the patty before you get there. Like we're seeing fish jumping before you even reach the patty, but that's not always the case. We drove by one that had, I think, 2 40-pound yellowtail on it, just chilling. So when you go up to the patty, just cast on it first. Don't roll up slow to it. Don't buzz by it. Don't just run into it. You want to approach it slow. There's the noise, the engine, the motor noise. Creep up on it and cast. If you're using jigs, throw jigs. If you've got live bait, toss a live bait out. Wait and see what happens. You Even if you're like 100 feet away, maybe 50 to 100 feet away, you should still be able to see some action, especially with the Dorado. You'll know they're there pretty quick. A lot of times they're curious. They'll come see your boat. They'll come underneath it. The Dorado are pretty fearless. They don't tend to be finicky. So put out a bait, troll around the patty a few times. If there's nothing happening, slow troll it. If you're not getting any action after the few minutes, straight up drive like right, not over the patty, but just right next to it. I mean, just real slow, creep up next to it, and literally just look down in the water and see if there's anything there. And that's what we were kind of doing on the way out, where we weren't even casting. We'd roll up to the patty, and we cast a few times. Very slow approach. Kevin was like on the top of my boat. He was just kind of looking down, and he'd say, "Nope." We just go on to the next one. So it's okay to even just go in. Like I said, we looked down, we casted on one, and we looked down, and there was like two fat 40-pound yellows. They didn't want to eat. They didn't want to bite. I mean, we played around with them for like 10 minutes they just were not interested at all. It was just two of them. They were chilling under the patty, under the shade. Absolute monsters. If you had a spear gun or you were a diver, yeah, you would have had two absolute monster yellowtails for sure. But they were just chilling there. Cave Dog said he went out Wednesday on the Grande. We were fishing for patties that was holding. A boater ran right over the patty, needless to say, at me. Oh my God. Yeah, dude, made coleslaw out of the patty. You know what? Somebody was saying they've heard somebody do that like purposefully. That is crazy. Yeah, and one thing you'll hear too is captains are being like, they'll always tell you do not cast in the patty, which is great advice. Because once you tear that patty apart, you've pretty much ruined it. And a lot of times the captains will tell you that because they go back to these patties again and again. You'll start finding big patties. They actually put GPS beacons on the patties themselves so they can keep going back to them. Or one person does, and then they share the coordinates. And multiple times last year we did that. We went to a GPS patty, and then one, it was getting too far, so it was kind of like the last hoorah. Then they picked the GPS up. They're like these big bulbs. They're crazy. Yeah, once you start casting into the patty, you start tearing it apart and ruining it, especially if you're using lures. I mean, live bait is not a big deal. You're going to let your bait swim. It's not a problem. But if you're throwing like the 60-gram submission jigs or surface irons and stuff like that, yeah, once you start tearing that patty apart, it just becomes a big problem. So don't be that guy. You don't need to cast on the patty. You can be 20 feet off either way, 50 feet off either way. It's not that big of a deal. The fish are there. The fish are fast. But yeah, don't tear up the patty. I mean, you're going to need that thing for as long as you need it. Are you trolling when you're looking for patties, or are you flying around looking for patties? We're flying around. So yeah, we didn't do any trolling. The only time we would troll is if we saw the patties up ahead. We would throw one on. So anyways, let me just preface this by saying, when we went out Tuesday, we didn't catch anything. And I'll explain this in a minute. And we saw literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Dorado. We saw yellowtail, and we even stopped and we got live bait because we knew that the bite might be finicky. We had live bait, we had trollers, we had jigs, we had surface irons, we trolled baits, and we could not get them to bite. But we did find them, and it was pretty much the same story. It was just one of those days where the fish had eaten and they did not want to eat again. But a lot of people out there too, the same thing on the radio. Everybody was saying the same thing. Like they found them, but they could not get them to bite. So I mean, that was the case, is that we found literally hundreds of Dorados swimming under the boat. Some of them were coming and looking at the bait. I think we had one bite the whole time. One came up and bit a live bait that we were trolling by, but it never even got hooked. But yeah, so the only time we troll is if you're looking for tuna, you can troll like a Mad Mac or something like that. But we were specifically looking for like yellowfin and Dorado, so we would only troll when we got to the patty. Kevin would go out back, he'd nose hook a bait, throw it out, let some line out, and then we'd just slowly putt by it, or we'd circle it a few times, but not on the way to the patty. And we're usually flying around looking for them. So this goes on to one of the other things is that you have to find patties that are holding. If one's dry, just leave. Don't waste your time. Just go on to the next one. But then the second thing you have to think about is even though you find a patty that's holding, is you have to actually find a patty that's biting. And this is the problem that we were having. El Sueño, still cleaning yellowtail from yesterday's islands. What's going on, man? Matt Florentino, what's going on? Welcome to the show. We're on YouTube if you guys want to join us on here. We got the party going over here, but I got a little more visual stuff going on. But yeah, you guys can kick it on the Instagram too. Yeah. So, anyways, you got to find a patty that's holding, but then you also have to have the fish that was biting. One of the problems, yeah, Graham says sounds familiar. Graham, it was the exact same thing. I took Graham out last year and we had the exact same problem. We found dodos freaking everywhere, literally jumping out of the boat next to us and would not bite. So one thing is, if you find a patty that has tons of bait and tons of fish and they're not eating the bait and the bait's not boiling, you're probably not going to get a bite because they're just sitting there eating the bait and they're not hungry. I don't know. Maybe it's a moon face thing or whatever it is. And we did a lot of miles. So the next key would be, if there's fish there, I know it's hard, but you have to leave the fish if they're not going to eat. There's just they're not suddenly gonna like turn on and eat. If you guys have been Dorado fishing, you know that when the dodos eat, they're gonna eat. When they're not gonna eat, they're not gonna eat. And there's nothing you can do to change that. And sometimes you have to find that patty that is like that. You want the patty that doesn't have the bait, but it has the fish. You want them to be hungry. You want them to be competitive. You want to find the hungry fish. And if you can find the bait and they're boiling on the bait, that's a different story because it means they're eating. But if you roll up and you see a ton of fish that are just lethargic and you see a ass ton of bait around and none of them are eating the bait, it's because they pretty much already had their fill. And so that was something that we did all day, was that we actually had to leave holding patties just because they weren't biting. Like I said, we saw 2 yellowtail on one, fat boys, like 40 pounders. Just nothing. We threw everything at these guys. They didn't even like move. And then we found dodos too. I think we found 5 different patties that day that were just like one that was, I mean, probably literally hundreds and hundreds of fish. I mean, wolf packs, like 25 at a time, just swimming underneath our boat. It was kind of like this double patty. And yeah, they just didn't go. And we took a long trip. I think we did about 100 miles in my boat. We went out just straight from Oceanside. And then we went south and we found them. So it's not like they're not there. So I think any day now you just gotta find the biters. But we weren't going to stick around. We didn't stick around even though there was fish. And what I'm saying is sometimes that's heartbreaking to do, but you got to find the patty that has the fish that are willing to bite. So even though you find one holding, you know what I'm saying? If they're not biting, don't waste your time. And it's so hard to like move on from that, you know, when you're seeing like hundreds of fish, but you're still better served finding just that one where they're ready to eat. And that's what happened with us at our trip on Submission at Sea. We drove around for hours and hours and hours. And finally, we found one where they were just going bananas. And even that, honestly, they weren't like, it wasn't a wide open bite. I think out of the 34 people, we pulled like 36 Dorado out. And they were still eating, but it wasn't chaos. Like when the Dorado eat, you can get limits on a boat in literally like 15 minutes when the Dorado are crazy. And even when we found them on Submission at Sea, they weren't like that. It was still like it was still a tough bite, but they were, as many as there were, we didn't catch as many as you would think you would. Cause there was also that one on Submission at Sea. There was equally hundreds of Dorado out there and we still only pulled about 30 of them off, 36 of them off, I think, like that. So yeah, you just got to get them at the right time. Did you get any Wednesday though, Cal? That's the question. Couldn't make it out Sunday, but went out Sunday and got a ton of rock bottom fish. Yeah. Yeah, we didn't even stop. We should have rock fish, but we were so far out that it was like there was no bottom. We would have never hit the bottom. We were like so deep. Yeah, you'll get them, dude. It's a matter of it's just finding them is one thing, but then getting them to eat is another thing. And that's just how the pelagics are sometimes. Bluefin are the exact same way. Yellowfin is just like if they've eaten all day and they've just been gorging themselves on bait, they're just not hungry. Like there's you can't force them to eat. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing you can do about that. You just got to hope you catch them on a day when either they didn't eat or they're hungry. Um, how were the swells? Oh, dude, it was the weather was perfect. So let me say this: we went out Tuesday, and it was one of the nicest days I've ever had on the water. We went about 100 miles. There was almost no wind. It was like glass calm everywhere we went. I mean, we were literally going like 30 miles an hour, like patty to patty, just hauling ass each one. Um, so that's why we were able to cover a lot of ground and find them. But yeah, perfect conditions. Couldn't ask for better day. So the day was nice. 1 to 2 foot swells, glassy conditions for the most part. Yeah, overcast. That's right, dude. Oh, was that? It was like yesterday. So yeah, Tuesday was the same thing. Crazy. Heard it was tough. Hope to see them pop back up by Wednesday. Yeah, I mean they're there, so it's just one of those things. We hope they're eating, and jigs versus live bait. I mean, I'm a jig guy myself. I mean, obviously I make jigs, right? Slow pitch jigs and casting jigs like that, and I'll throw them when I can. But be honest with you, sometimes like when the live bait is sometimes the only thing that'll work. If you need like when we went on our trip, live bait was the only thing. Long soaks were really the only thing getting bit, and you can't replicate that with like a jig or anything. The only time I got bit Saturday was when I literally had a bait in the water for like 5 minutes and then finally got took off. I mean, I had 15-pound test on, which is and I hooked up a big old monster and I fought it for like 20 minutes. And I got impatient, broke it off because I was on light line. But yeah, if like it depends what they are. Like, I have a YouTube video where I was casting on patties and catching them every time with the jigs. I prefer jig fishing. I think it's funner. Live bait is kind of boring to me. Like you just kind of wait, let it swim around. But if that's the only way to get a bite, it's the only way to do it. I much prefer jig fishing. And normally when if they're going off, the jigs are fun. They'll eat the jigs for sure. Planning to fish Saturday or Sunday. Any good zones recently? Haven't fished in a couple weeks. Depends what you're looking for. The fish are out there. They better bite on Sunday. Yeah. 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 Well, the sport boats are a little easier to catch because they can chum a lot. But that was the thing too. Even on my boat, like I said, I got a 30-gallon tank, and I think we got a half scoop. We tried chumming. We cut up fish, like we diced up the fish and threw it in there. Oh my, they would not eat. They would not eat anything. I went down to 10-pound line with a tiny ass little J hook, and they would not eat. They would not eat the bait. It was crazy. We tried everything. You guys know Kevin. Kevin Nakata is a great fisherman. That dude, if we could not get bit, something was wrong out there. Oh yeah, heck yeah, man. Patty fish and bluefin. Yeah, they're there sometimes. One of the things um too that I think is the problem is it's the bait thing. And this isn't something that we can control. When you see a lot of bait and you see the fish, you probably don't have a bite. So you'll notice that when the bonito come in and when the yellowfin come in and you have the dorado, the bite it explodes and it turns off. Hey guys, I'm gonna dip out on the Instagram live. If you guys want to join us, we're gonna be on YouTube. I just wanted to bring everybody over to the YouTube channel. If you want to see us there, we'll see you over there. I'm gonna end the stream on the Instagram side. Later, guys. Thanks for joining. But yeah. So when you start seeing the yellowtail and the yellowfin, when everything's in there, the bite is a lot better because they get more competitive for the bait and they start eating the bait. And I think the lack of yellowfin has been causing the problem with the slow dorado bite because the dorado are there, but they have no competition. You want the bonito in there eating bait. You want the yellowfin in there eating bait. You want the dodos in there eating bait. When you start finding them all, and every time I've had those chaotic bites is because just all three fish are going bananas. Mainly the yellowtail, the yellowfin, and the dorados. And then you throw the bonito in the mix, and you've got 4 different species of fish competing for the bait ball. That's when it's like you can literally throw anything in there and they'll eat it. The submission jigs, I throw the 60 grams. 40 grams. They were just getting smoked last year. And when I was throwing the jigs, I caught every one of those fish. I caught a yellowfin, a dorado, and a yellowtail because they're all trying to compete. You want them eating the bait. So I think not having the yellowfin or the bonito inside, that's what's causing the problem, is because it's all the bait is, there's plenty of bait and there's not enough fish eating the bait. So they're just not hungry. And that's kind of what's happening right now. But you just want to find that patty with sparse bait with the dodos that are looking to eat. Captain Dan says, so Captain Dan, he was a fishing captain for a long time, so he knows this stuff. Remember, if you hook a dorado, leave it in the water, which will bring the others that will also take your bait or whatever the first one hits on. Yeah, we talked about that last week. So if you get something bit, just kind of leave it in there, let it do its thing, and the others will come around. Give Dog say he left his dorado in the water. Yeah, dude, Cal. We were waiting for a gaff on the front of the boat for submission at sea. Cal was right next to me. We were on the bow, and we were yelling for a gaff for him. And dude, Cal bounced this fish. Listen, we were on the bow of the Malahini. That thing is like, it's like 20 feet off the water. He bounced that thing like all the way up. It was pretty awesome, dude. That was great. Yeah, we'd have time to wait for the gaff. That was pretty good. Oh, you'll be on the Grande. Yeah, Grande gets on him. I think you'll be fine. Did you bring any others with your fish? That's the usual deal. Most patties we're finding are about 10 to 8 feet in diameter. Is that big enough? Yeah. Like we check everything. Straight up 1 foot patty, dude, we're on it. They'll be on small patties. If you can find the big ones, it's usually better, but don't sleep on the little patties. Try everything. 6 to 8 feet is actually pretty good, to be honest with you. I mean, we're stopping on like strands, like 2 strands of like lettuce. I mean, we're stopping on, and every now and then we'll find the giant. We found this one. It was like 2, probably 20 footers next to each other, and that's where dodo. They were just jumping out of the water, just mocking us. But yeah, it was freaking crazy. So one tip too, since we're talking about patties, to find the patties, it's better to go out with somebody that can kind of spot them, right? We had my sister with me, and she was actually doing a good job finding the spotties. But one tip too is to find the birds. So not the birds flying, you find the birds sitting in the water, because a lot of times birds will just sit in the water. It's not a big deal. But when the patties are around, a lot of times they'll sit in the patty themselves. So you'll see the birds in the distance just sitting there, the white birds or whatever. You'll see the terns. Go check that out, because like what we found last week is whenever we saw birds out in the distance, like way far out there just sitting, we would roll up and they were always sitting on a patty. And the birds will sit on the patties that typically have the bait. So the birds a lot of times won't sit on the dry patties. The birds are only there to eat. So they're sitting on the patty and they're resting. But that's also an easy way to spot them, especially when it's overcast and they're kind of hard to see. It's easier to find when there's the sun out. But that's how we had most of our luck, was finding the birds, not the birds diving and splashing, which we were looking for foamers, because we were seeing if the yellowfin or bluefin were out there. So we definitely had our eye out for foamers. We didn't see any that day, but when we did find the birds, they were just chilling there. But I'd say 8 times out of 10, when we rolled up, they were sitting on big patties, just ready to eat. And then all the patties that had the birds, those were patties that were holding as well, that had a lot of fish. So that's one way to find them as well. It's kind of easier sight thing, because patties are tough to see. But yeah, that was just a tip for you guys. Look for the birds, make it a little easier for you. Let's see here. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it as far as the patty going. But yeah, one dodo tip too is take pictures of your fish before you gut them, especially Dorado. So Dorado have that really nice color, and take a picture right when you catch it, because that's when they have that best color, that green, that blue, like that green and yellow. When they're dead and they've been sitting in the icebox, you pick them up, they lose all of that color in their skin. So you get some pretty, like, the pictures is usually not as good. When you first get them out, remember to take a picture with them. Then you can gill them and gut them and do your thing. But that's just a tip if you're looking for that Instagram clout on the Dorado action. The only thing living, yeah, we found lots of moa. Where are you launching out from? And maybe you just didn't go far enough. But like I said, I think we did about a 100-mile trip, but I think we launched at an Oceanside, and we probably, I'd say we started seeing them maybe like 15 miles out, 15 to 30 miles. And then we basically from there just went from north to south and went along a ridge there. It's probably where we had the most luck. Maybe you just got to get out there and see them. Muto, you gave the best advice on the patties, finding the ones holding with fish, with birds sitting, not flying. Yeah. Thank you, man. See, giving away all the tips, man, all the secrets. Somebody out there is probably going to like come and slash my tires. I should have told you to go look at all go look at the patties without the birds. Those ones, yeah, man. I want you guys to catch fish. That's what we're here for. Thank you, Captain Dan. That means a lot to me. I'm glad you like that tip. Oh yeah, happy birthday, Iron Fish. I forgot your birthday, dude. Happy birthday. Just drinking my B day, watching the black belt of slow pitch jigging. I don't know. Maybe I'm like maybe a brown belt. Launching Mission Bay, mainly up and down the west side of the 9 Mile bank. They should be there. I'd go a little further, to be honest with you. I'd go further west if you're not seeing them. Just keep going. Keep going until you find them. Sometimes you got to be about 30 miles out. The 9 Mile does have them, but if you're finding patties that are not holding, I think you got to go a little further because we were finding them a little further, or just launch out of like Oceanside and Dana Point. They've been up here like crazy, so maybe consider that. Corey King says, "So what jigs are you having rigged up to sling at the patties?" I've been throwing mostly my go-to is like the 60 gram, but I also throw like the 80 gram. It's like the 80 mackerel. This is the new one we have, but the 60 is always money. 60 assassin. This pink one is the one I used in the video. That I was just catching like on every cast, and then I think I was throwing getting bit on the 40 sumo. So I'd say 40, probably 40 to 60, or 40 through 80 is probably your go-to. That 60 is kind of like the sweet spot where you can really get it out there and it's big enough. But one thing I do want to note, guys, that the bait that we saw was very, very tiny. So if you're going out there, and the bait that we had was like massive, like we had giant baits, and the bait that we were seeing was extremely tiny. So, don't be afraid to maybe throw some of these small ones. So if you guys don't know, we just had these special edition jigs launched. This is the dodo version. So we had these just for when the dodo showed up. It's the little dodo color. These are in the 15 gram. We had these in the sumo. And we only made 100 of these each, guys. And I put out a post today, and we're probably already halfway sold out, to be honest with you. You guys have been ordering a lot of these. I don't think they're going to last a couple more days. So if you guys want to get some of these, go get them. These are the little baby dodos. This is the sumo one. But if you are going to throw one of these, I would upgrade the hook. I don't know if I'd trust these little tiny ass hooks on you catch a bull dodo, maybe some of the small ones. But yeah, so if you guys do want to get some of these, they're limited edition. We only made 100 each, so 200 total. 100 of the sumo, 100 of the assassin. We got them on our website. Like I said, I think we're easily probably half sold out already. So if you guys want to get on some of those, definitely go get them. But yeah, this one was the money, is 60 gram, even the 80 gram. And like Corey was asking, just let it fall. So they fall sideways and they like flutter down. So like when I cast these at a jig or at a patty, I'll just cast it and I just let it sink and count to like 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe to 7. So by the patty, this thing's just going to wobble down. If I don't get bit, I reel it up fast so it gets up to the surface, and then I just free spool it again and then let it wobble all the way down. So I keep doing that up to the surface, let it flutter to the surface, let it flutter down. Sometimes you get bit on the retrieve. If you think they're going to, you can cast it out there and burn it in quick. This thing will wobble and spin. But usually I like the sink method a little better. But I just try it out. Sometimes they want a faster action, so cast it and just burn that sucker in, and this thing will swim the whole way up, and sometimes that gets bit. You just got to find whatever they want. But yeah, it's definitely my go-to. Um, 60 gram for the patties, 40 gram, but I sell a 20 all the way down to a 10 gram. So um, I wish I probably would have thrown the micro a little more, just because the bait we saw was like they were eating tiny ass little baits. Just so you guys are prepared, and when you go out, if it's the same thing that we've been seeing, be prepared for small baits, because that might have been the ticket. But like I said, live bait, we didn't have any. It was everything we had was freaking behemoth bait. It was nuts. It was like the bait we have on this mission at Sea Trip. That stuff was giant too. It seemed to be getting bit there, but chumming helps too. I think you'll be having a little more luck on the sport boats. Being able to chum when they can chum just endless amounts of bait out, that does help. Private boats, a little different. Mangled and Tangled Ooze, welcome to the show. Glad you could join us. Gonna buy some of your jigs tonight. Yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. We got your dodo jigs, man. Yeah, we're gonna ship a lot of them out tomorrow, man. I'll be busy, that's for sure. You pick 2 of them up, hell yeah. No, they're not at Dana Landing. These ones we only have just on the website, just because we didn't, since we're not stocking them. It's just like a limited thing. Like once they're gone, they're gone. Is the only ones we're gonna put out. So we didn't bring enough in. We didn't make like UPCs for them for the tackle stores or anything. They've got all the other ones. I don't know if that's what you're asking. Dana Landing has these ones. They've got the 60s. They've got all. They carry all the way up to like the 600 gram jigs for like the bluefin and stuff. So they should have them for sure. Yeah, a lot of you guys. I saw those orders coming in. I appreciate that. I didn't know they were gonna fly off the shelf that fast. I was like, looking at the things, I was like, I came down. I'm like, man, I think we're like almost halfway sold out already, which was crazy. I don't know if they're gonna last long. Butt hooked anchovies might have worked. Yeah, we tried, man. Yeah, if they were the smaller ones, could be. But we butt hooked, we trolled. It was crazy. But the good news, they're there. So that's definitely encouraging. It's not like we went out and didn't find them. It is, which was crazy because we went out with Graham last year and we had the same thing, except when I went with Graham, we had the same results, but we didn't have live bait. And we were wondering, and we were like thinking, because all I had was jigs and all I was doing was throwing jigs. And I kind of thought, well, man, maybe if we had live bait, we would have gotten bites. But this time we did have live bait. And it was still the same result. Nothing, not a damn thing. That's where I usually get them. But I was asking about, yeah, we don't have the dodo one at the Dana, unfortunately. Oh, we got some of the assassins. Heck yeah. I think they're a cool color. I don't know. We're just having fun with it. I was like, why don't we just do like a little limited time dodo thing once they're here? We kind of had them for a while, just waiting for like the right time to. Was waiting for the dodos to come in to drop them. Let's see here what else I got. So yeah, if you guys have any more questions about patties or anything like that, let me know. Yeah, that's just some of my some anecdotal experiences. Look for them. So just to sum it up, look for patties. If they're dry, move on, move fast, keep going. Even if you find some that are holding and they're not eating, try to find one that's eating, because even though you find one where they're just sitting there lethargic, there's a chance that you can move on and find one that is eating. So the name of the game is moving on. And all you need is that one. And you can stay there all day and make your day. And you'll probably limit quick. Remember, 2 Dorado in Mexico. When you're in the US, you can catch 10 Dorado. So when you find that patty and you're in the American waters, you can load up on dodos. Throw 10 in your boat. Mexico, you only get 2. But all you need is that one patty. So don't be afraid to move. Move, move, move. Find the one that has the fish. That's really the biggest advice I can say. Look for the birds. They're sitting on the patties usually that are holding. And yeah, man, just good luck. They're there. And I can confirm they're there. So I wanted to push that along too. They're here. They're already in North County, San Diego. I think they're already in Orange County. They're still in Mexico as well. And I think they're biting a little better in Mexico because they're still eating, like I said. And hopefully we get other fish pushing in here, eating their bait so they get hungrier. And I think once we start seeing more yellowfin, I think the bite will get better. That's just my prognostication anyways. Just about 4 for the Rancho Leonero trip. Heck yeah, man. Ooh, Captain Dan. Benji, if you run out of the 10 grams, let me know. I have a healthy collection. Of what, the dodos? Did you buy some? or just in general? Oh yeah, Benji, what happened to your leg too? I saw that on Instagram, dude. You got stitches, right? You were out fishing or something? Hope you're doing all right, dude. How late in the year do they usually hang around in SoCal? This year, I think they'll be later. Last year, I think they I mean, honestly, sometimes they're here till like October. I'm trying to think. Last year, September. Um, they were a little far in September, but I think we were like a month behind September. I think they'll probably be here till like October, is my guess. We're kind of in that prime time now, but usually they don't stick around the ocean side. They'll move up. So this is what happened last year: is they came up the coast. They hit Carlsbad, Oceanside, Orange County. They went all the way up to like Central California. They were catching them at like Monterey Bay. But then when they turned, the water kind of turned. They came back way offshore, like so we couldn't even reach them. So they moved up fairly quick. I'd say in August they had kind of already moved through here. But like I said, this year we're just now getting that hot water. So this is like really the first. This is I think the second week we've been seeing them. So I think probably till September they'll stick around, and they'll stick around in Mexico usually a little longer. End of the season, September, October, even late October. I've seen them down there. So it's fishing. You never know when the bait moves out, when the current changes the water temperature. That's really the determining factor. When the water turns, they're going to leave. And like I said, they don't leave. The bait leaves, and that's what causes the fish to leave. It's really all about what the bait is doing. If the bait can't hang, the pelagics can't hang. They want nothing to do with it. Were the micros in less than 40 grams getting gut hooked in the dodos? No, not the 40s. The babies, yeah, that's what I was saying. Upgrade the hook, and you'll probably be okay. They'll choke those sometimes. The 40s, no, they were just eating them pretty normal. I didn't have any gut hook problems with the 40 grams. Just picked one up. Yeah, heck yeah, man. Thank you. I'm hoping to catch my first Dorado. You've been fishing. Yeah, you guys get on them, man. I think you're going to find them. They got to be. Sport boat, you're going to have a better chance, guys. I'm telling you. Just, I think with the chum, private boats, I think is a little harder, but you just never know. Get out there. They're there. They are there. You're going to go out there, and maybe it's just the day that they're eating. You're going to come back with 10. You guys are going to limit out. So don't be shy that like, usually it's one day if they don't catch them, that's usually a good sign because hopefully they're hungry the next day. You ever notice like when you see the fish counts when it's like, oh, they've been blowing up, and then you go out there and they don't eat? It's because they were eating all the day before and everybody limited. And then you go out and they don't eat anymore. So it's not really indicative of, just because they didn't eat one day doesn't mean that they won't turn on the next. I mean, I'm still going to go out there and see because I know they're there. I mean, that's enough for me to keep going out to the ground. It's just a matter of getting them to eat. But one of these days they're going to. Thank you for the question, Mr. King. Let me see here. We're getting to the end. I know I had some other questions. Stealing the moon, baby. I see you in here too. How do you avoid getting seasick when you hit the big rolling waves? Yeah, man. I don't know if there's anything you can do. You took it like a champion, though. That's for damn sure. You did well, man. You were still fishing through, chumming the waters and fishing. I don't get seasick. I'm pretty lucky. I don't take anything. I've never had a problem with it. I think taking the drug before, like Dramamine, Bonine, I think is the best. I see a lot of people with the patch, but it's my understanding is getting the stuff in your system the night before, whether it's the patch or the Dramamine or the Bonine, getting it in your system the night before and then taking it again before you go out, I think has been pretty successful. You don't really want to take it when you get on the boat, but if you tried all that, you still got sick. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Eating for me tends to help. Only a few times I felt it a little. One time I was on a sport boat and my bunk was in the bow and it was like monster swells. And this thing, I was like bouncing out of my bunk. Like it was so bad. And I felt it. I just a little bit. I went up and had some nuts, got something to eat, and I was fine. Like I think eating helps. Some people don't think eating helps, but just not self-isolating too. Sometimes it's anecdotal things like being out on the deck, talking to people. Sometimes just distracting your mind is big enough. When you start feeling it and you give into it, like you put your head down and you go inside, it's like it just kind of compounds it. But sometimes it's just everybody's body's different. You can get sea legs too, though. The more you go out, you do get over it as well. So people that do get seasick that continue to go out and fish, you get over it. Your body adapts. So unfortunately don't have a magic. I don't have a magic fix for the seasickness, unfortunately. Any tips for hitting the LA? Yeah, man, just patties, man. Go look for the patties, like we were talking about earlier in the show. Um, and LA, I don't know if they're there yet. Orange County, they're definitely off Dana Point for sure. Um, I would just launch, go at least if you see patties, hit them on your way out. But we were having to go at least kind of like 20 miles so we started seeing them. That 20 to 30 mile out range is when we started finding the patties that were blowing up. We found some early that were shallow, even though they were in the hotter water. The water just off the coast was 74 degrees, and we found patties in like that 74 degrees, which is usually better. But we started finding them at like 71, 72 degree water about 30 miles out. That seemed to be the sweet spot. So just go west, dude. Just go west and look for patties. That's it. There's no like, you can go all the marks, 277, 209. Any place that you hear the typical spots, just go check them out. There'll probably be some fish there. You gonna bring that new mackerel print on our ship? Heck yeah, man. The macaroni. That thing's fire, dude. Yeah, I'll bring it. I'll bring a few. Definitely works the night before. Yeah, that's what I hear for sure. Seasick, hydrate. What is that? Macalazine. Skip the beers before you go. Eat bland stuff the day before, right? The crackers. Take another one when you wake up. Yeah, that's what I've heard. Oscar says coffee makes it worse. Dramamine didn't do shit for me on Sunday. It was rough, but I never felt that bad. Oh man, I took it. So you did take it the night before and the morning of, and before took the daytime with ginger. Don't recommend. Yeah, I don't know if there's. I think it's just your body's prone to it. I don't know if there's anything you can really do. We were hitting the big swell, so like when we went Saturday, it was like it wasn't choppy at all, but it was like the big rollers, and I think that was getting that got a few people. The chop I don't think is as bad, but yeah, I think those rollers they got a few of them. Drink some beers and you won't know you're sick. Yeah, dude, just go overboard on the beers. You'll just think it's alcohol poisoning instead. Last year they were like 3 miles off the break wall, but I'm sure it's not going to be like that. It might be. I don't think yet, but that can change at any time. Like I said, somebody caught one a half mile off of Oceanside, so we know they're there. PC Pacific Coast Bait and Tackle in Oceanside. Shout out to you guys. They carry my jig, so we'll give them a shout out. They made a post on Instagram. Somebody caught a dodo half a mile out, so it's not to say that they're not that close. Just check patties. I would plan to go about 30 miles out. Check everything, every patty you see. If you find them 5 miles out, money, man. Bonus. You don't even have to go anywhere. Just check. Search every patty you can find until you find the one that holds. It's no magic. Just getting out there and looking. They're there. Eating 100% helps. If you don't eat, you feel like you're more prone. Yeah, I think so too. My wife also, she fished a lot with me before we had the baby, but she would always eat and feel better. And she used those little wrist things that like those pressure point things. I don't know if that's just all snake oil, but they worked for her. So she takes the boning and those little wristbands, and then she eats something, and she's been good. And some of it too, I think, is just she's been out on the water so much more, she's probably getting used to it. I'm a sailor and I have 2 decades of ocean under. Man, yeah, that is rough. I was on a trip once where the captain got seasick. I'm not gonna name names because that'd be messed up. But yeah, the captain, man, I had fished with this guy many, many times before, so I know he was a salty ass dude. But yeah, we went out on a really rough day one time, and He definitely was seasick. We had to come back because it was so rough. You couldn't even fish. Like we were getting slammed on the rail and then back. Like you couldn't even stand still. We he turned it around and we got refunds, but that's pretty funny. Carl Black, ooh, so what's going on, man? Yeah, guys, get out there. Boning, I think, is the best. Just go out and look for sport boats. Yeah, that's interesting, but we didn't. So just an anecdote, we didn't. I went out Tuesday. We didn't see a single sport boat. We didn't actually. Nobody. When we went to one zone, there was one other boat. Where we went, not a single boat in sight, and we found a Paddy with hundreds of Dorado on it, and there was not a boat anywhere. So it doesn't matter. The hell with the sport boats. You just go find a. There's so many Paddies out there, and all you need is the one. And the boats were out there. The fleet was there. I don't know where they went, but we didn't. We did not see any of them. We didn't see any other private boats where we were, and we weren't in any like. We just were looking for Paddies. So I don't know if they were chasing the boats, but nobody got bit, and we didn't get bit, but we found them, and we weren't anywhere near the sport boats. But it's not a bad. I mean, finding the sport boats isn't a bad thing because they know where the fish are. Just give them space. Don't be up on them too close. If you can drift downwind of them, is fine. Especially if you can get in their chum line. It's not a terrible strategy. Just don't. They get pissed when you're too close and you're tangling lines. Um, just keep your distance and you'll be okay. If you find sport boats, because it's not like I haven't. I've fished around plenty of sport boats where you happen to be in the same place or you see a sport boat, you go check it out. Like that's not a big thing. Just I wouldn't fish for boats. I wouldn't just be like, oh, here's a sport boat, let's go find it. If you see them, that's okay. And even if you roll up on one, usually they're pretty cool. As long as you keep your distance, they usually don't mind. They just don't drive through them, don't drive close, don't cut lines. Same rules of the sea, man. Just be cool with everybody, and they typically don't mind. Doug Rubin El Sueño. Yeah, dude, I saw you killing some yellowtail, dude. Down at the islands, huh? I've never seen yellowtail like I've seen this year. Or I have, but it's been a while. Just the size, man, the size and number. Also, I don't know if we talked about that the sand bass bite has been insane in Orange County. So if you guys want to get in on that, apparently it's like some of the best they've seen in years. Like hundreds of sand bass are coming over, huge sand bass. You don't know what it is, what's bringing them in, but off the coast too. So some of these half day boats are going and just crushing sand bass. So you want to get big sand bass. Sand bass love jigs too. So if you guys love slow pitch jigging, sand bass is like one of the funnest fish to catch on those things. And they've been crushing them. So it's a record year for sand bass right now. If you guys can get out of like Davies Locker or any of like those Orange County places, check that out. And that's fun too. Even though the dodos and stuff are here, dude, a good sand bass bite is, I think, super fun. That's legit. I like when they find me. Like, yeah, we do the same thing. Like we'll be out there, and somebody like rushes up real quick. Because if the boat's not moving, like if you're just parked, you're like, oh, this guy's gonna come check us out. If they're moving, you're like, oh, they haven't found anything. They're still moving. But yeah, when you see a parked boat, you're like, okay. Get the binoculars. How long have they been moving? Are the rods bent over? Even private boats. I don't care if somebody rolls up. I roll up on people too. You go see. Just be respectful. You guys just know the rules. Distance and space that's the biggest key. Just don't run over Paddies. Don't run if you see a group of boats, don't drive through the middle. Don't run over the Paddy. Just don't be that guy and you'll be fine. Talk to the other people, say what's up, wave at them when you go by, right? It's like the let them know your friend, give them the friendly wave, build a truce. Then sometimes you guys could even work together. 150 plus for me and two guys in like 3 hours. What, the sand bass or the dodos? Oh, they were eating everything. Yeah, that's what you want, dude. It happens. 100%. It will happen. So even though you find them and they don't eat, there are the times where it's, yeah, you literally throw anything out there. What size jig for the sand bass? Depending on the depth. Sand bass, I catch in everything from, I've caught them on the 130 gram. I don't think I have one, but the biggest ones I've caught have been on like the 130 gram jig, honestly. And then the 80 gram I've been eating too. But if they're shallow enough, Just throw a 60 or a 40. It don't matter. They'll smoke big jigs. They're not shy. Super fun jig fish too. Sand bass come up and get it. That's what I like about them. Like before you even hit, they come up and take it. They're not lazy. I love sand bass. Do you want to go fishing tomorrow? I don't think I can. If you give me some more notice, maybe I can next week. I have jujitsu tomorrow, and then I coach Wednesdays too. But yeah, if you give me enough notice, then I can get some of my like coaching classes covered. I can usually do it. Do you do anything when you see a big ton of dolphins? Run over and fish? I mean, I run over there because I think they're tuna. But then once I realize they're dolphins, I get pissed and just turn around. No, I don't fish with the dolphins. I've heard of tuna like running with dolphins, but nah. I see them. Yeah, you see the baits. Like if I see them, I rush over only because I don't know that they're dolphins. I'm hoping they're tuna or something, but nah, I just turn around because dolphins, they're they're wrecking fish. Fish don't want to roll with the dolphins. So you're usually not going to find fish with them, unless they're big enough bluefin and they're not worried about them. But dolphins eat the other fish too. So, oh, the sand bass and calicos, dude, so fun. Yeah, that's awesome. I've heard. I don't know what it is, but I've heard that. I almost want to just drive up there and hop on one of those little sport boats for a half day, just to crush some sand bass. Was worried about getting too big. Nah, the biggest sand bass I've caught was on a 130-gram jig. Um, Big one too. My wife caught a monster too on the 130-gram. It's no problem. Even the 80 is like perfect. You guys would be surprised that the size of the jigs fish eat. Like I said, they don't know it's a piece of lead. They just think it's a big fish. And even if they think they can eat it, and they'll eat it in 3 bites. They're not like they're not largemouth bass where they just inhale it. They'll eat it from the side, and then they'll try to choke it down. But once they hit it, then they realize it's lead. But prior to that, they think it's just the fish they're going after. They don't mind that it might take them 3 bites, but all you need is the one strike, and you're going to get them. So don't be worried about the big baits. Last big sand bass was last year. Yeah, man, so much fun. Benji, Tom Cod, Butter Knife Moreno, the $20 super sticker. Damn, thanks, Benji. Just throw that into a membership, man. Get some perks with it. I appreciate that, Benji. You're the man. We miss you. Hope everything's good in Florida. Miss having you down here in SoCal. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Sent a 130 and a 220 to my buddy in Alaska. Oh, yeah, he did slay the rock. I saw that, man. I posted that story. That's awesome. Thank you. Somebody in Alaska bought a whole bunch of ogres, too. I mean, I don't know. I just see the addresses sometimes, and I'm like, I wonder what he's going to catch with these. Tons of spawners sitting at like 40 feet. It's like perfect. Almost every drop. 80 to 90 feet. Produce 3 to... Man, I got to get out there, dude. That sounds like so much fun. Yeah, let her know. Sand bass are fun. For sure. All right, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you all for joining. Hopefully you all had a good time. If you have any questions, obviously hit me up on Instagram. Benji, thank you for the super sticker again. And yeah, feel free to hit me up either on YouTube or Instagram if you guys got any questions. Like I said, if you want to support the channel, we sell jigs. We're in like I think 20 tackle stores out here in Southern California, all over the place. If you go to Fishing Rep's website, he's got a tackle store finder. Obviously, you can get them online too. So I mean, we sell jigs online, and Submission at Sea was super fun, dude. Love fishing with you guys. Thank you all for coming, buying tickets, and supporting. Hopefully, you all had a good time. Really, that's the most important thing to me is that whenever I put those shows, whenever I do like the big charter boats, like I don't even care if I'm catching. I want you guys to have fun. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Super cool meeting all you guys, fishing with you, and hopefully you guys learned something today about patties. Just get out there, go find them, and looking forward to seeing your picks, guys. And yeah, till next time, guys. Get those black belts in fishing. We'll see you next Thursday, and hopefully we got some fish to report on. Cameron, I'll see you Wednesday. See you out on the BD trip. That should be fun. All right, guys. I really appreciate y'all. Till next time. Oos.